You, who bore witness to the secret with your own eyes, who knows in your heart of hearts that the revelation that he bears is true, and who has understood that this knowledge could cast us into endless pits of despair. As you drink the sap of the world, the water that feeds our lives, abandon the one you thought you were, and instead become our brother, Zachariah Mancer. Together we have shared the water and secret. Can you swear to forever protect the knowledge of the earth and to dedicate your life to finding it again? To defend and protect our secret, even with the sacrifice of your life, if need be?
I swear.
Then welcome, my brother.
I know you must be troubled by what you've learned, and I assure you that it's no less troubling to me. But be proud of what you are, and know, no matter what, we are by your side. And that this initiation, as horrid as it may be, makes you forever our brother.
You showed the courage of lions beneath the dome, and for it you have been made an officer. So I imagine, now that you no longer need my guidance, it will send me elsewhere, with the great and endless pride of having been your teacher over these few years.
The honor was mine, Master.
No, not Master. It's just Sean now.
Go. Take your assignment as an officer. Count the blessings you've amounted, those that allowed you to avoid the front thus far. Captain Eliza is waiting in the barracks. She's harsh, but fair. But before you find her, we all know the regulations. Technomancers get no leave from the front in times of war. So being here, I can't even sneeze without a report being written up. But you have a free pass. I need you to go to the exchange district for me. There's an itinerant merchant there who was supposed to arrive yesterday. Just meet with him. The merchants have no ties to abundance and travel among us like shadows. They hear things, whisper things, and pay people to forget they are there. I'm looking for information on any archaeological discoveries that could expose the Earthlings. Information that would help protect our secret. Ask him if they've heard of any such finds.
Yes, Great Master, as you wish.
Good, Zachariah. But take care that not a single soul knows what you're after. Not a single soul can hear your exchange with the merchants.
How are you, Zachariah?
I'm fine. And you?
Good. How may I be of service?
What do you know about Great Master Ian?
A truly great man, instilled with a vision and goal that most likely saved us. Before his arrival, things were simpler in Ophir. The ASC was out here, but by and large, they were little more than a corporate espionage network, disinterested in either the army or us. Of course, we always answered to a chain of command, but it was nothing like what we've experienced since Victor has taken the lead. From the beginning, there was cause for alarm. However, the former Great Master, Brandon, was far too old to have energy enough to lead the charge against our enemies. Ian, though, is inspired. He's inspired us to stand up for our right to freedom, to expand our understanding beyond the simple message we all saw in the dome. Such wisdom and strength are rarely found in one person.
Do you know Sean?
Not as well as you, I am sure. However, from what I can recall as his teacher long ago, he was an idealist, hungry for change, for a world where technomancers wouldn't have to hide their secrets, where they might live normal lives with families and children. But, unfortunately, that dream, which might have provoked him to become a catalyst for change, merely left him bitter from the loneliness inherent in our condition. He is lucky to have found such a friend and student in you, and because of that, his leaving for the front will be terribly painful for him.
What are your thoughts on the ASC?
Were I a younger man, I might play it safe. Say I know nothing of them, that they protect us. But age exhausts the desire to continue down such a path. The ASC is a disease that is destroying abundance for the vanity of a single man, Colonel Victor. They're not just our enemies as technomancers. They are also our enemies as citizens of abundance and inhabitants of Ophir. They strangle the freedom of the people under the weight of their own paranoia. To them, everyone is guilty of something. Their sustenance is hatred and fear. And, I fear, a clash with them will one day test our survival.
What do you know about the technomancers?
For such a specific question, it raises broad answers. I cannot speak of those from Aurora, for instance. I know they have little power there, that they are seen more as guardians than soldiers. But do they know from where their abilities stem? Here, only the initiated know. As you are aware, we keep the youngest of our kind in the dark, fearing the knowledge might be too much for them to bear. That secret, though, once shared, forms a bond like none other, melding us into brothers and sisters, bonding us in spite of Abundance's efforts to keep us apart. It forges solidarity, a concept very dear to me. It defines us, I believe, even more than our powers.
What do you know about the Exchange Quarter?
A strange, almost exotic neighborhood. A haven for merchants who claim no corporation as their home, who bear with them goods and news from beyond our borders, and boggle the mind with their uniqueness. It's refreshing.
You know our chapel very well, don't you?
An ancient place. The remnants of the first domes in the city upon which Ophir was built. Though, admittedly, we know not what they were used for back then. Perhaps a place of worship, perhaps of knowledge or research. One cannot know, as its purpose was adapted and changed to meet the evolving needs of generations of technomancers. Numerous relics and tunnels linking it to the underwork have been added over time.
What can you tell me about the source?
It is the heart of Ophir, and therefore Abundance's. The city's most ancient neighborhood, spotted with the remnants of the original domes. A place of power, as expected, where politicians, military officials, ASC members, and even technomancers. Mix. Besides our chapel, though, I admit it is not a place I enjoy. I am no diplomat, and in a neighborhood where all that matters is how many there support you at the council, it is not a place for me.
Are you familiar with the underworks?
I know them, in bits and pieces. People say they extend for untold miles. Subterranean channels forged by water and the claws of creatures so expansive that none have ever explored them all. Beneath the chapel lies a crypt containing the remains of our most distinguished members. But there as well are countless storage areas, shortcuts that elude the less desirable areas of the city, and even places of refuge for the banished and most wretched of our populace.
What can you tell me about the slums?
Besides the underworks, they are the largest part of our city. As its population swelled, so did its buildings, but far too quickly and without proper standards, which now leave its occupants sans adequate safety, urbanism, or even means for sanitation. It is a surprise that many of those buildings have managed to stay standing, and that some contagion has not yet spread.
Zachariah, a pleasure as always. What may I do for you?
What can there be at this excavation site?
For us, now, having not been there? We could only speculate. But should those rumors hold true, there are relics to be had. With those relics comes priceless information important enough for them to transport technomancers in droves to the middle of the desert. It makes you wonder, have they uncovered traces of the colonists' legendary beacon? If you believe the tales, it could resurrect communication with Earth. For 2 centuries, technomancers have scoured this planet for this beacon, and for 2 centuries, this beacon has eluded us.
What do we know about these itinerant merchants?
They are unbound by loyalties, flitting from corporation to corporation. Beyond that, I know little more than myths and legends, often difficult to unravel from the truth, like the tales of hidden mountainside villages stashed with their wealth. Never have I encountered another group that despises and envies in such equal proportions, impugned for lack of loyalty or origin to our superior culture, but regarded for the freedom that comes with that. In truth, though, for me it is the information they trade in that bears their greatest source of worth, far more than the trinkets they hawk.
And why, if I may ask, are these relics so important?
Each relic is a breadcrumb that could lead us back to their bygone, yet far more advanced era. We are little more than feral offspring to a once illustrious time filled with scientific and artistic knowledge long since been lost to us. A cultural de-evolution of catastrophic proportions. The value of these relics cannot be overstated. A simple fragment could mean strides forward in knowledge, leaps forward in time, and in the wrong hands, the extinction of our kind.
What do you think of our army?
A question requiring a delicate response indeed. For we are a part of that body. An integral part, perhaps. A vital organ, but still just a part. As such, one may not talk about the whole without impugning the parts, which in truth I am not wont to do. But with that spoken, it is very old. On one hand, good, well-established, the best equipment, disciplined troops, professional. But on the other hand, set in its ways, a double-edged sword indeed. For inflexibility is merely a step from paralysis, an iteration of the old dog's new tricks scenario. And with ranks practically inherited, there hardly exists a culture that encourages hard work or passion among the troops. Why work towards something that's unachievable? And of course, it's less than ideal that there are far too few of our kind among the ranks. Next to Aurora, we're surprisingly deprived in that field. And they're in the process of collecting the laurels of their politics right now.
What do you think of our army?
But with that's for inflect next to...
What do you think of our army?
But for next to Aurora...
What can you share about us, the Technomancers?
We are, as you have learned, mutants, Zachariah. But while other mutations form the poor, deformed creatures that we use like commodities, ours has produced within us gifts. Whether this knowledge is shared among the Technomancers of Aurora, I know not. We are all still learning about ourselves, with knowledge segregated from faction to faction, corporation to corporation. Even Aurora conducts experiments that would be of interest to us. We whose gifts have turned us into living weapons. And despite our strengths, despite our role as guardians of knowledge, the last link to the Earth's past, the sole reason the corporations have not yet collapsed, our instability has ensured that any seat of power remains elusive to our kind. But never forget, no matter what our enemies, even those inside Abundance, may think or espouse, they need us. It is not the other way around. We are our own masters, never slaves.
Do you have any insight on Alan Manser?
Zachariah, listen closely. As much as my heart yearns to spurt vitriol at his name, discretion is the better part of valor. Speak neither ill of the dead nor of those who could make you so. That man is filled with more blind aspiration than sense, easily manipulated by those who know how to flatter him. He would give up everything for the slightest bit of praise. He is the antithesis of you. While you ascended, his weaknesses have kept him from initiation, and he holds it against you. But do not get sucked into his petty games. He is adult, worthy of less attention than contempt.
What can you tell me about the ASC?
There is nothing to learn, officially, because no one talks about them out of fear. Speak of the devil and he shall appear and all. Silly superstition. But fear drives men as much as serum, I suppose. The true source of their power ultimately stems from their surveillance services. And with the war comes near limitless authorities in such matters. More often than not, authorities are aimed at their own dissenters rather than any deeply tangible threat to our great Mother Abundance. At their core, they are quite simply the most mortal of threats to us. So I would advise you, stay in line, do as you are told, and attract little attention, for it is now a perilous game of survival.
Do you have any wisdom you can share regarding Colonel Victor?
Wisdom or warning? He is a dangerously smart man with an insatiable hunger for power, an unending drive to have us in his pockets. A chess master, I fear, with just enough savvy to find a way to do it, too. Someday.
What can you share with me about the Source?
The center of all Abundance's power in Ophir, each building a symbol of its proper function, with the source set directly upon an ancient colonist dome that provided the vast bulk of our collection. Fascinating, is it not? Even if vestiges are all that remains of the old dome. To think that there was once a man, exactly where we settle, who had seen Earth with his own eyes, perhaps touched it with his own hands.
What do you know about my barracks?
A perfectly inelegant mix of testosterone and bachelorism. What could I add that you do not know for yourself firsthand? Poor food, worse quarters, but it serves its purpose. Barracks for the source, no more, no less.
What can you tell me about the exchange quarter?
A melting pot for sure, forging an amalgam of cultures, commodities, and peoples, filled with merchants hawking equal shares of wares and information with such freedom that it gives the impression that it is unburdened by the scrutiny and heavy hand of abundance's surveillance. An impression that is, in a word, faulty.
What do you know about the underworks?
Little more than common knowledge. Kilometers of tunnels lined with endless rows of warehouses storing who knows what for who knows whom. Forged in part by man, in part by nature, and in part by the creatures that dwell within them as they extend all the way out to the ancient waterways.
What can you tell me about the exchange quarter?
A melting pot for sure, forging an amalgam of cultures, commodities, and peoples, filled with merchants hawking equal shares of wares and information with such freedom that it gives the impression that it is unburdened by the scrutiny and heavy hand of abundance's surveillance. An impression that is, in a word, faulty.
That dome we went to with Master Shan, where did it come from?
A relic of the first colonists. Long forgotten until after the turmoil, discovered upon the building of Ophir's first shadow path, and finally opened as a place of knowledge by one of our own, transformed into a storehouse for knowledge and secret discoveries until its collapse. So much was lost, but you were not. And if nothing else, I have that to be grateful for. For it is now we need fresh blood more than anything.
You must go see your captain right away. She is waiting for you at the barracks. I will be happy to talk about your progress later, but I don't want you to get a penalty early on in your integration.
Goodbye, Sean.
Goodbye, Zack. Be careful. You must go see your captain right away.
Goodbye, Sean.
Goodbye, Zack.